I'm Larry Fedoruk, and welcome to my weekly podcast, I Was 8. A series of stories about growing up in a small town on the prairies. This chapter will mark the completion of Season 1. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your support. By the way, unlike those TV shows, you won't have to wait months or years for the new season. If you're listening first run, Season 2, Chapter 1, will debut on all platforms usual time next Thursday. I'll be trapped in a room with a dead body. But first, let's get on with this week's I Was 8.
Chapter 13. The Math Riddle That Consumed Me.
Right around the time I was 8, my dad whipped a math riddle on me that drove me crazy. Truth be told, it still does. But before I burden you with it, I think a little dad math history is in order. My dad was really good at math, and by that I guess I mean arithmetic. He wasn't walking around town solving algebra problems. He didn't have a chalkboard in his study with a giant physics equation on it. He didn't even have a study, unless you count the garage. No, Dad knew arithmetic. When I was 8, he even taught me a trick to remember how to spell arithmetic. Kind of a mnemonic, not really an acronym, more of an acrostic. First letter of each word spells a word. Have you heard this one? Ready? Arithmetic. A red Indian thought he might eat tobacco in church. Arithmetic. Can you imagine? I remember sharing this tip with my grade 3 teacher. She praised me for it and shared it with the rest of the class. How much is wrong with that? An indigenous person contemplated consuming a cancer-causing product in a place of worship run by the invading colonizers. It spells nothing. Arithmetic. Hey, thanks for the tip, Pop. Maybe we'll just stick to the numbers. Dad was good at numbers. Add, subtract, multiply, some dividing. We used to play this game in the car. I'd go 2 plus 2, he'd go 4. I'd go 4 plus 4, he'd say 8. 8 plus 8, 16. 32, 64, 128, 256, 512. As I remember, he could go forever. Not bad for a guy with a grade 6 education. And therein lies a big clue. Dad was a farm kid. In the day, school was like some interruption to their daily chores. Many of their parents barely tolerated it, school. Being a farm kid was a 7-day-a-week job. As my Uncle Joe, the good one, used to say, "The cows don't know it's Sunday." Actually, whenever I was at his place, I'd run to the barn and yell, "Hey, cows, tomorrow is Sunday," or, "Hey, in 3 days, it'll be Sunday," whatever. Then I'd run back to the house and say to my uncle, "You know how the cows don't know it's Sunday? Well, I told them." Yeah, so Dad, like many boys in his time, as soon as they grew old enough and strong enough, they just stopped going to school and worked on the farm full time. My dad could read and write quite well, or pretty good, as he would say. And math, I think some of it was learned, but I also think he just had a head for numbers. Who knows? Maybe if he stayed in school, we might have had a giant chalkboard full of sines and cosines. Instead, Dad eventually left the farm and married a college-educated school teacher. I think he honed and bragged on his math skills as if to say, "Sure, I married a really smart woman, but hey, I'm no dummy. 2 plus 2, 4. 4 plus 4, 8. 8 plus 8, 16. 32, 64, 128, 256. By the time I was 8, Dad worked as a bartender and assistant manager at the local hotel pub in town. He made change like lightning, always exact, and used to brag to me how each night he had to balance the till. I pictured him walking through the bar with a cash register on his head. You know, all those men drinking beer all night, why not? But he said no, no, no. He added up all the money and the tips, and everything had to add up and make sense and balance. Wow, Dad. So that's a little background on Dad and math. Around this time, I was getting pretty good at math myself. Well, arithmetic. And of course, enamored by Dad's way with numbers, including the adding game. Sensing this, one day Dad came home and said, "I got a riddle for you, but you have to figure out the answer." Riddle? Sure, I love riddles. Hey, Dad, here's one. What's the difference between the priest at the church and the janitor at the church? Ready? Okay. The priest has to mind his P's and Q's, and the janitor has to mind the keys and pews. Huh? I don't get it. Okay, never mind, Dad. What's your riddle? Here's the way my dad told the story. Are you ready? It might drive you crazy. It's late night at a hotel. The hotel where you work, Dad? No, just some hotel. Shut up. Okay. The night manager takes a quick break, and the bellhop is watching the front desk. 3 men come in and ask for a room. The bellhop says, sure, that'll be $30. They pay him and head up to the room. Minutes later, the manager returns and asks if anything happened. Yes, says the bellhop. 3 men came in for a room. I charged them $30. Well, that's too much, says the manager. It should only be $25 for the room. He hands the bellhop 5 ones. Here, take this up to the room and refund them their money. Okay, and off he goes. Up at the room, the bellhop explains the situation and apologizes for his mistake, handing them the $5. The men say, well, we can't split $5 evenly among us, so we'll just take back 3, and you can keep the $2 as a tip for your honesty. Thank you, and he leaves. So with each man getting $1 back, that means they only paid $9 each for the room. 3 times 9 is 27, plus the $2 for the bellhop, 29. Where is the missing dollar? Wait, what? Wait, what? Dad repeated the riddle start to finish. $30 a room, mistake, $5, can split, 3, 2 for the bellhop, 27, 29, missing dollar. Yeah, where is that other dollar? And with that, Dad left for work. Oh no, there's a missing dollar. Dad had discovered a crack in the universe. Grade 6 educated Dad had recognized a university-level error gone unnoticed in all mathematical calculations since Archimedes. Look out on the road. What's that? It's the apple cart, and it's completely turned over. I don't think Dad ever realized how much this riddle consumed me. Days, weeks, months. Where was that missing dollar? Unless I was completely absorbed in some other activity, my time was spent thinking about the riddle. And even then, I could hit a baseball, get to first base, and while standing there, start thinking, 3 times 9, 27, 2, 29. But they paid 30. Hold on. 3 times 9, 27. Meanwhile, another kid had hit a ball, and somebody was yelling at me, Larry, run to second, you goof. At one point, I made a chart. Well, some drawings, a hotel, a car. I decided the 3 men had a car. It was a blue Plymouth. And that they were traveling salesmen who often shared a room to save money. Their names were Dan, Pete, and Fatso. The bellhop's name was Orest. The night manager, Mr. Nelson. Their arrival at the front desk was approximately 11:30 p.m. The night manager's break lasted about 9 minutes. These were the facts as I invented them. It was the dragnet method of investigation. I figured if I had an actual model with people and names, this would aid in finding the solution. Yeah, that does nothing. So I counted out 30 marbles, 3 piles of 10, I took one from each pile. 2 of those went to Orist, the bellhop. That left 1 marble. 3 times 9, 27. 2 marbles for Orist. That's 29. So I have the marble, but where is the dollar? That's still missing. And hey, what do you think Orist spent his $2 tip on? I mean, that's a lot of candy. He could get bags of candy. No, wait. Concentrate. At one point, I became convinced that 3 times 9 was not 27. That was the lie. The marbles would prove this theory incorrect. Around this time, Einstein was known to all kids, used both as a compliment and an insult. When you did something smart, you were a budding Einstein. When you messed up, it was, "Nice job, Einstein." Of course, Einstein would know the answer. "Mom, how do I write a letter to Einstein?" I could send him my drawings and charts detailing the marbles experiment. "I don't know," said Mom. "Besides, he's dead." Damn, my last hope. Now no one will ever know where that dollar is. Wait a minute. I live with the answer. Dad. He's the troll at the bridge posing the complicated riddle before anyone can pass. Certainly if I just begged him, he would tell me the answer. All right, Pops, come clean. Where's the missing dollar? Do you have it? He'd almost forgotten that he'd shared the riddle with me, and he said what I did not want to hear. "There is no answer," he said. "The dollar is missing. That's just the way arithmetic works." Well, why am I even going to school? Eventually, I just stopped paying attention in arithmetic class. Why bother? It was all a lie. For all I know, 2 plus 2 was not 4. In time, I went mad and had to be institutionalized. Well, no, but nearly. So here's how actual math people who really do own large chalkboards explain this riddle. The 3 men paid $30. They received a $5 refund, of which they kept 3 and gave away 2. 25 plus 5 is 30, so they say. And there is no missing dollar. They paid $27, but you don't add the $2, you subtract it. Well, there's many ways you can get back to 30, but yet there was still that one way where you only got to 29. And it just consumed me for so long. Nice job, Einstein. There is a version of this riddle where the bellhop steals the $2 and only refunds 3. Later in life, I appreciated that my dad told the honest mistake version of it, and that the generous men tipped the bellhop for his honesty. It's a much better lesson for a kid to learn. Speaking of which, I guess from this we learn that be careful what you say to kids. It can impact them in ways you have no idea. Because a kid's logic, at least my logic at the time, was all wrapped up in red Indians eating tobacco and cows who didn't know what day it was, and of course, Orist and what he did with that $2. Had to be candy. I'm sure of it. Yeah, I'm sure he bought a lot of candy.
I Was 8 is a weekly series written, produced, and voiced by Larry Fedoruk. A new episode every Thursday. Share your stories with Larry, or if you like, share Larry's stories with a friend. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Larry Fedoruk, that's Fedoruk, can be reached at larryfedoruk37@gmail.com.
3 times 9 is 27 plus 2, and then, but they paid 30. And again, thanks for listening. And a reminder, tell your friends, Season 2 of I Was 8 is on its way.